Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this video, we're going to go through and detail all the industries that we've placed and connected to the machines factory so that we can finally finish off this line and see what all of this looks like once it's fully developed. And so here's the final machines factory that we will be delivering to. We lumped it in with this other one, so we sort of have this large complex where it can all be shipped out by train. This is just a temporary location unless anyone else has any better ideas of how to get machines to the cargo hub, but I kind of like the idea of this, especially sort of right outside of Santa Clarita. And again, as stated before, we'll be going through and detailing all the industries that have not really gotten any detailing done yet. We do have this industry that we started back up again after it was only really shut down for less than half a video, and our sole supplier of planks to the machines factory coming from here, which should also be slowly ramping up production yet again. But then those are the only two industries that are detailed. The rest of them, such as this forest, well, this forest we already did, so I suppose there's nothing left to do on the planks end of it. But we have these two coal mines here, these two iron mines, we have this steel mill, and then finally we will get to this machines factory. And so I think that's the order that we're going to go through these, sort of starting at the basic resources and working our way up to the final end product. So let's make our way over to our coal mine. And we can already see we're starting to have some coal shipped out of here with our boats coming over to grab some of that. I think we'll reverse the direction of a few of these just so that they can start getting spread out along the line. However, I think because we'll have so much coal coming in here, we can actually adjust the line so that these boats leave only once they're full. Or I suppose this is full on either compartment, because I think these have two compartments. I'm not sure, but either way, full load, it'll have to be full of some resource, and that will of course force it to wait to let the boats sort of spread out on this line. And then one thing we also have to do here is adjust the rate of each of these lines. So as you can see here, this boat line's hardly moving any coal, and I believe we'll need it to move 1600. Yeah, once this is fully upgraded, we'll need to be moving 1600 on this line, so about 4.5 times more ships. But we'll adjust these numbers as we go through each industry and get them detailed. And so the first thing we're going to do is adjust this truck rate. It seems like we got pretty close here, and we do still have our road depot, so we can just simply come in and we'll get perhaps maybe 4 more. We'll see how that brings this number up. So that gets us up to 1631, which is pretty much right about where we want to be. So we'll leave that there. And one thing we'll do, since we'll have a lot of trucks coming in here, at the coal mine we'll set an alternate platform just so the trucks aren't holding each other up as they come in here. We'll have to keep an eye on the unload area as well. We might want to turn that into a platform so that we can do something similar, so that we can allow multiple trucks to unload at the same time. But now what we can do is start to get on with the detailing. So we'll come in here, and the first thing we'll do is just get rid of all of the trees, rocks, and other stuff that's sort of sitting at the bottom of this crater. And so this gives us pretty much a blank canvas to work with. We'll grab our terrain tools next, and I think we'll just give it a good smooth around here just to make sure everything's nice and not necessarily flat, but at least decent enough for us to put buildings and other details down here. Alright, and so now we have sort of a little bit of space around each industry so we can start to blur those edges. I think what we're going to do is come through with just some dirt and this is going to pretty much allow us to make this all look and feel the same. Alright, and so now after using the paint tools to get sort of a rough outline of this whole area, we are ready to start blending this in. Alright, and so the first thing we're going to do is get some fences in here to help us make this look cleaner. And so we'll get a fence in right about here, and this will open up into this area. And then I think we'll leave the backside here open. I think we'll sort of try to recreate these hills back here, and this will sort of be what ties these two industries together. And then over here will be some more buildings, storage, maybe even some rough parking, and that should be pretty much how we're going to finish off this look. So let's get in here with a brush and start bringing up the hills. We'll want to do this in sort of a little bit of a random way, as well as not conflicting with the edges of the industries. So that's going to be a little bit of the hard part, because we want to make it look like these hills are providing a natural edge, but we also don't want to leave it wide open, pretty much. Alright, so now that we have our hills placed, we'll go through with our paintbrush and we'll mess around with this slope threshold and all that so we can get some rocks showing in areas that would make sense. Alright, and so we'll roll with this terrain, I think. We played around with it a little bit, and I think we'll just have to come through very lightly with the flatten and smooth tool to clean up some of these edges. But once we have that done, I think we're ready to maybe paint some coal in some regions of this sort of mountain range, and then some of the smaller buildings and details. And so we can actually come over here and find coal. We'll get our slope threshold, we'll play around with that again, and this should allow us to paint maybe not too much. Maybe we'll go a little steeper and a little lower on that brush strength. Alright, so now I really like how this looks. I think it's getting a lot closer to where we want it to. So now we'll fill in this area, and I think we'll start out with some buildings. So we can come in here, find the coal mine buildings that we want. Now unfortunately, we can't really use any of the sort of minecart tracks here, as that's not included in any of the mod asset packs that I have, but we can still get the buildings in here and try to at least blend it in a little bit better. Alright, so I think this is what our buildings and sort of terrain layout's going to look like. I think it blends in quite nice, and if we come in here and turn off the industry icons, the goal is pretty much so that you can't really see the edges of these industries when you zoom out a good bit, and I think we got that transition between the two of them down pretty well. So then the next area I think is right about here, and this is mainly going to just be a storage area. So we'll come in here and we'll grab our flatten tool, and I think we'll pretty much want to flatten this area out to about the level of this road and the truck station here. And so I think something about like this works out pretty well. We can come back in and place some more buildings down, more ones that seem like storage buildings. And so we'll have coal lined up along this building to act as a bit of storage, and then I think just to top off this area, we'll come into our trucks, and I think we'll actually grab these big ones here. We'll continue to flatten out a slightly bigger area, and then we'll get a couple of these lined up over this way. Alright, and I think that'll pretty much do it for the main portion of this. We're going to go through, sort of bring up the edges a bit and sort of blend it into the bottom of this crater So we'll rough up all of this land over here. This will sort of just bleed into the rest of this flat area. And then we'll fence off this, and we should be good to move on to the next area then. Alright, and here is our finished coal mine area. We have this area that we detailed up. This is sort of an expansion of this one, so that the edge is sort of a little bit hidden, and also so that it varies our edges coming in here. We have this little area by the storage section, which is maybe sort of like a future expansion if they wanted to extend mining to this side of the road. And then over here is all closed off in with the sort of rougher terrain. And I'm pretty happy with how this came out. I think it looks really good. I kind of wish we could have taken up the whole sort of crater area, but we simply don't have the demand for that much coal, because we probably could have dotted another 2 more industries over here, and that would have looked really cool. But I'm quite happy with how just this portion turned out, so we'll leave this, and we can come over to the harbor. Actually, I'll leave our ports sort of untouched for now, because I want to sort of get to the industries, because that's sort of the main portion of this. We can come back maybe much later, maybe when we're just finishing up the map, and add a little bit here, but I think for now we are good with the coal mine. And quickly before we move away from here, I think we do need to add in another truck stop, just because it does seem like there is a lot of traffic coming in here. So we can just simply line this up. I believe that is straight compared to the road. We'll make this a little bit longer, add another terminal, and then we'll get this placed in right here. And then in this menu we can add sort of the unload portion of this to use the alternate platform. Alright, so then before we move on, let's get our rate for these boats fixed up. So we'll duplicate those, and I'm not sure why we're getting an error with those ships. It looks like they're coming out just fine from here. So yeah, those ships look like they're coming out just fine. We'll come through, add another batch. I'm not sure why this is popping up, but we will want to keep an eye on the vehicles. Maybe it's trying to spawn them in a different shipyard, but now our rate's up to just under 1,200. So I think we'll grab 5 more of these, duplicate those, and that gets us to a rate of just over 1,600. So now moving on to the iron ore mine. This isn't going to be quite as big and elaborate as the coal mine was, because we have a much smaller area to work with, but we'll still put in the effort to make this look good. First we'll adjust the rate here, and we actually overshot it by a little bit. So perhaps maybe we were just right on, because it looks like we'll have to stick with the slightly higher rate in order to get the most out of these iron ore mines. So anyway, coming back, let's do what we did before, and we'll erase all the trees and other stuff sort of in our way, so we have a blank canvas to work with. And something like this will do just fine. We'll have to come through with our smooth and flatten brushes, make sure the road looks pretty good where it is. And then I think we're going to do the same thing. We'll come in and we'll paint all of this to be a nice dirt color. Alright, and the way we're going to make this blend in is going to be a little bit different, because it's really hard to recreate this iron ore mine look. So I think it's largely going to be just with vehicles, or not vehicles, buildings, I should say. So there probably won't be too much going on with terrain and landscaping, but we'll still do our best to blend sort of the textures and other stuff as well as we can. Alright, so we did end up trying to do sort of the iron ore mine look, and I'm not too sold on it, but we will keep it just because we did put a good amount of time and effort into this. So we'll just quickly get the edges here painted with stone so it actually looks somewhat realistic. And then we'll add the fence around the pit, and then we can move on to buildings and other stuff. Alright, and so the iron ore mine doesn't really have that many buildings, but will do with what we can. And it looks like this is lined up pretty well, so we'll get some buildings placed right along here. And then I think we'll try to get a few sprinkled along the fence line. So we'll get one there, one of these here. And now that we have sort of the basic layout of the buildings, let's just go through and see if we can pretty much make this look cohesive. Alright, so now here is what the iron mine looks like. I definitely think there's more work to be done here, but I think it's a great start still. I think it blends in quite nicely. We have our truck rates set up, so this should be good. And then coming down here, we'll just want to make sure our boat rates are the same as well. So this one should be significantly less boats than the coal line. Although, yet again, we seem to be having issues, I suppose, with one of our shipyards. So we'll just have to pretty much do this manually, and I think if I did the math right, 6 more should get us where we need to. And so now if we take a look at this line, 1951, I believe is about as good as we get. I think if we sell one, we'll be just under. So I'm okay with this number. And now we can move on to the steel mill. Alright, so now coming over to the steel mill, we have the whole area pretty well prepped. So I think what we're going to start off with is over here, sort of our truck station and port area. And so this, we'll have to lower our brush size and bring up our brush strength. And we'll just paint all this in to be asphalt. And this is pretty much what we're going to do for most of this lot. A lot of it's just going to end up being painted asphalt. So this area will be asphalt. And then whenever we get over to here, we're placing buildings other areas, that will probably be largely asphalt. But next, let's get our roads laid out. So I think we'll get a road placed right along the edge of the steel mill, right about here, like so. And then I think if we can, we'll pretty much extend this over. So probably something like that. And then we'll leave this for now and see if we can maybe figure out something to do with this whole area then. Alright, so now I think we're set up pretty well to start placing down some buildings. There's not too many steel buildings, but we can do a good amount with what we have here. Alright, so this is going to be our sort of expansion to the steel mill. I don't think we're going to do anything over here because there's not really much we can really add. So I think we'll just sort of brush in some trees here. It's not going to be anything too dense, but I think some trees just like that helps to sort of hide and protect it a bit. We'll leave this space open for sort of future expansion if we ever need it, but now let's get a little bit more fleshed out in this area, and then we can move on to blending in the machines factory. And so over here is really just going to be a bunch of steel storage, so we'll line up a bunch of these, and we'll get all those in just like that, and we'll find a crane to place in somewhere over here so that it seems like this steel could be moved between the port and this truck station. So I like how that looks. And then the last thing we have to do is just add a little bit of detail to this blank platform, and then that should be it for this area. And so really, because this is where all of our iron and coal is coming in, we'll want to fill this up with a lot of that to sort of sell the look of what we're trying to do here. Alright, so I think that is good enough for here. We'll pretty much just leave it like this. I don't think we really need to fence off anything because we have this all fenced off over here. So I think we're okay to now move on to the machines factory. And actually, before we do that, we want to make sure our steel truck rate is correct. So once this is fully maxed out, I believe it'll be moving at a rate of 800. So we're only at about 500 on this line. So 6 more trucks, that will get us up to 869, which is right about where I'm happy with. Before we move on to the machines factory, I do want to come back and check on these rates, because I don't think we've fully adjusted those. So this log line, we're a little bit over, and I think just selling one vehicle will be okay. We might be able to sell one more. So we can sell one more and be just over 800. Over here at the sawmill, we'll have to find our line that is moving the planks. And so this line is only moving at a rate of 500. We'll get 4 more vehicles, and that gets us to 700. So maybe 2 more. And that gets us to a rate of 811. And so the last log line looks like it just needs 1 more truck, or maybe 2 more. And that is good for that one. And now that should be this whole area fully up to demand. It's going to take a while for all the industries to come up and update, but once things get flowing through here, it will be much better off. And so coming here and blending this in isn't going to be too much, since again, this is all probably going to be temporary, but we'll still make it look good. And to do that, we'll paint this over to be asphalt. It doesn't really seem right that these trees are going to be covered in asphalt, but as we can see, based on this one, once this industry levels up, that will be replaced with a wall. So I think if we just add a few buildings along the edge there, that should really be all that we need to add. Alright, so I think this will do it for our machines factory. We weren't able to quite find the exact wall, but this brick one blends in well enough for now until this industry upgrades and we can actually see what it looks like. But I'm pretty happy with how this is getting left off, and hopefully soon, well, it seems like we'll need plenty more trains moving these machines to the cargo hub. But anyway, we're going to leave this video off here, so if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.